Can we hear him?
So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Ah, there you are. What's going on, guys?
Recording or what?
Huh?
Did he start recording?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. How much of that Just for Men are you using?
Not much at all. Not much at all. I have
on.
a few grays. I have a few grays in there.
All right. My whole face should be white. I look like Santa.
I know. I'm getting there. They're coming.
Yeah, you're looking good, buddy.
Thank you. Trying.
Say hello to Nate Tello. Nate's a good friend of mine. I think you guys might have met through the years at some point.
Of course I know Nate.
Good.
How are you?
Nate's getting ready for North Americans, right?
No.
Different Nate.
That's
okay. Okay. What's going on, Nate?
How are you?
I'm doing well. Give me 1 second. Okay.
Here we go. So, John, let's quickly get updated with the bodybuilding nonsense.
Yeah.
You doing New York? Is that the show? In Tampa?
Yeah. So that's the plan as of right now. We were shooting for the New York Pro since February or January. We started prepping for it, and then with the way things were going in New York, my family's there. Everything's still shut down. I just knew it wasn't going to happen. So we ended up pulling back on my diet a bit, and we were like touch and go.
Yeah.
We weren't sure what was going to happen, so we were just we decided, okay, we're going to do Puerto Rico, which was I think it was a week before New York.
Yeah.
Which I had won last year, and then that got canceled. So we were like everybody else, we were up in the air. We didn't know what was going to happen, and then we were extremely excited to hear that they were moving the New York Pro to Tampa, which is kind of strange, but we're excited to be doing it. Yeah.
Maybe it took it moved to Tampa for you to win the fucking thing.
I know. Well, I have a little bit of a mixed emotion about it. Just because
in front of your hometown.
Yeah, family, friends, it's a different it would be very different to win in New York than it would be in Tampa. And especially under the circumstances, we're not going to be able to have the same amount of people watching the show. It's just a weird year, Yeah.
You might actually have more eyes on it though through the pay-per-view.
Through the internet, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which would be cool.
It'll be very cool. But so New York is 4 weeks away, 3.5 weeks away.
4 weeks out. As of Saturday that just passed. So yeah, 3.5 weeks out.
3.5 weeks out. Where are you compared to other preps? Your face looks pretty skinny.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? What's the weight at? Where's the brain at?
My weight right now, I'm right where Neil's super happy. I'm like 244, 245. We've been bouncing around. Been holding on to this weight. Man, it's got to be 2 or 3 months now. Just been bouncing around between 245 and 250. Again, we were touch and go with a lot of these shows. But now we're like hammering hard. We're getting ready for New York. He knows how important this is for me. And I know how important it is for Steve to have some of the New York guys up there as well. So working hard to bring my best. I think we will be right on par with the showing that I had last year, which is a little disappointing to me because I wanted to be, and it still can happen. I don't know, your body can change dramatically, but I think I'll be on par with my Puerto Rico showing and Toronto showing. I just wanted to be a little bit better than that. The objective is to always get better. So. Right.
Well, John, that modern day social media, you have to lie and bullshit it and say that you are lights out. You're better today than you were on stage a year ago. Yeah, you're going to be 294 on stage.
Well, anybody that knows me knows that I'm not a fluffer. I'm not the guy that's going to like bullshit my way through. When you get up on stage, if you're lying about your weight or your conditioning, it's going to show anyways. So
fake it till you make it, baby.
Yeah.
So, Nate, do you have any questions before I hog up all the time?
So I want to ask, what's the lineup looking like for New York Pro? I know obviously Patrick Moore is doing it.
I have
Who
no
else do we
idea.
know at this point? Is there other people confirmed other than you and Patrick?
I have no idea. What I saw a post the other day. Fuck, I forget who made it, but they said Evan was competing again, which would be awesome to see him back on stage, and Max Charles.
Yeah, we have Evan on tomorrow. We'll ask him.
Oh yeah, is he competing? Is he confirmed or?
We'll find out tomorrow. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I'll be watching for sure. But it would be, how awesome would it be to have that dude back on stage, man? Such a good bodybuilder. Yeah.
How do you see yourself stacking up against Patrick Moore? Obviously, you guys are top guys. I don't believe you guys have been on stage together before, so it's sort of the only rivalry we have at this point.
We've been on stage several times together. I beat him every single time we went up, except for the Olympia last year. I think Patrick, I've told Patrick, he's a great bodybuilder. I think that he's got some filling out to do. I think I do as well. But I think I'm a little bit more, I have a really hard time saying, giving constructive criticism to other people, just because sometimes it can come off as you're being cocky or putting other people down, and that's not what I'm trying to do. But if we're just talking about physiques, I think that he still has some work to do in the leg department. I know that he has learned to pose them a little bit better and kind of hides those flaws a little bit better than what he was doing before, which is great. You got to use every tool you can. But if we're just talking about physiques, I think I'm a little bit more complete than he is. I think I hold a little bit more tissue, pound for pound. I think I'm a little bit more muscular. Evan, who knows what Evan's going to look like? Evan's just a big dude. And then Charles had a great showing at the Arnold, I believe. Yeah, the Arnold. So he's another one that I have to be careful with. But again, huge, crazy amount of muscle up top. Need some work downstairs. So I think if I'm going to be compared, I always worry going against guys that are much taller than me because I feel like somehow I don't get the look. I don't want to say that I deserve, because I don't know what the judges are looking for, but I feel like maybe if I got compared, those flaws would be a little bit more noticeable to the judges. If I get that call out, I think, my legs are so much more muscular than a lot of those other guys that.
Is Patrick like 3 inches taller than you?
I would say so, yeah. I don't know exactly, but I would say about 3 to 4 inches, yeah.
Yeah. I'd say you guys are similar in that you're both shape guys first.
Yeah.
I agree with you that you have more tissue on your frame, pound for pound, inch for inch. You're probably going to weigh around the same. Mid to high 230s.
Yeah.
And you being 3 inches shorter, you both having tiny waists. If you're even equal to conditioned or harder than him, that would tell me you could win, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, this is all theoretical nonsense, but that'd be a great call out to see you two next to each other. Because like I said, you both shape people first.
Yeah. And for me, I feel like there's a lot of unfinished business for me. This is just my own personal goals. I feel like there was a lot of unfinished business that happened at the Olympia. I felt like we were just a tad off from what we were aiming to be. And I know that if I'm not at 100%, guys like Patrick Moore will slide in and beat me. And I was very, very, very disappointed in how that played out, because I know that if my whole goal the last 2 years is to be able to stand next to guys like William Bonac, Tahadi, guys that are my height, Dexter Jackson. Because if I get that look, maybe I don't deserve to be in that call out just yet. But I think if I get in a lineup with those guys and people, specifically the judges, are able to see like, whoa, Jon isn't that far off from these guys, then I feel like I maybe start to be able to move up a little bit more in the ranks, which is what I'm looking to do. I think that I've put in the work. and come show day, you know, you just got to be ready to battle. That's what I'm doing.
I think you belong in that grouping for sure. You have things that, you know, some of those names don't have. You know,
Yeah.
let's face it, you have prettier shape than Bonac.
Yeah.
I mean, he might have more muscle per square inch than anyone, but when it comes to shape, you belong in there. You belong in the Dexter Jackson conversation.
Yeah.
You know, it's just going to take you time. How old are you now, John?
I just turned 36.
36. All right.
So I'm not that young.
Well, here's the put it in perspective for you. At 36, I was my second year as a pro.
Wow.
You know, so and I had
but Jose, it's so different because you could have turned pro, was it 9 times?
Yeah,
you just chose not to.
What I'm referring to is the improvements I was able to make from my second year through, you know, years 7, 8, 9, you know. So you have plenty of time to reach those goals. So I want to change channels here for a second and find out what you're doing now, like for work. Are you just coaching? Are you training people in the gym? Are you working? What are you doing? I know you're a sponsor too with Betancourt.
No, I actually am newly sponsored by HD Muscle Dorian over in Canada. Dorian, his brother Noah.
Oh,
I signed with those guys back in April. I was with Betancourt for almost 7 years.
Yeah.
I was the face of the brand, but unfortunately with COVID,
there is no
you know, yeah, it was tough for them to keep an athlete like me on, and you know, we had to unfortunately go our separate ways. And you know, Dorian and I had been talking for a while. I knew that he was starting his own brand, and we finally ended up coming to an agreement with the deal. But as far as work, I had about 22 clients that I was doing online, and that went down to 3 right after COVID. I'm back up to 5 now, but work has slowed down tremendously, which is kind of
good timing.
Good timing, yeah, because I'm prepping, but you know, I haven't felt this amount of financial stress in a long time as well. So it's, you know, give and take.
So how I mean, it's a dumb question, but I'm really I want to get out there that you used to be an elevator worker, and a lot of people might not know that, and you were busting your ass.
And I still pay my dues. So I'm still part of the local 3 union. If I ever wanted to move back to New York, I can get a job tomorrow if I wanted to.
And that's damn good money too, right?
Yeah, I got paid very well.
It's just ass breaking work.
Yeah, so unfortunately at that job, as soon as I walked in, they so there's typically in each elevator company there's about 3 different divisions. There's the repair unit, there's the just maintenance unit, which anybody who's in that field knows that you want to be in maintenance. It's the easiest, the least back-breaking work you could do. Repair is the most back-breaking work you can do. And then there's the more like the electronics part of it, which is also very easy. There's a lot of like computer work and stuff that has to go into that. But anyways, so as soon as I walk in, they see this muscled up dude and they're like, he's in repair. So I'm like, okay, repair, that's cool. And the guys are like, oh man, you're not gonna like this. So, you know, long story short, I ended up having to hoist, you know, 1,000-pound motors upstairs, downstairs. You know, again, a lot of people don't realize when an elevator goes out, there's a motor that's driving that elevator, just much like a car. And once that motor goes, if that elevator motor's upstairs, 60 flights of stairs, you got to carry that bitch down. And it's very, very, and then you got to carry the new one up, which is even worse. So yeah,
you don't have like a certain elevator that would bring that up for you?
Well, if you were lucky enough that the building you were working in had 2 elevators or 3 elevators or a service elevator, then yes. But the problem is most of the time you couldn't knock out, if there was one elevator out, you couldn't knock out the second elevator because you needed the residents to continue using it.
Right.
So I don't miss those days at all.
No.
No. I miss the steady paychecks. I miss the comfort of knowing how much money I'm making, my insurance, health insurance, my benefits. I miss all of that. Obviously, the comfort of knowing that you're building something for after you retire. But I don't miss the work at all. It was backbreaking, dirty work every single day. I would come home covered in oil, top to bottom.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun, but I felt the best way that I can describe it is if you're getting ready for a competition against some of the best guys in the world, that all they're doing is training. They're going into the gym, they have 100% of their energy is going into this training. Now, if I'm working that kind of a job where it's very laborious and backbreaking work, let's say I get to the gym and I've already used 50% of my energy. It's not going to be as effective as if I was giving it 100%. Now, mentally, I'm giving it 100%, but physically, I've already expended so much energy. I'm not going to be able to give it the same kind of attention and intensity that I would need to compete with these top level guys. So the last few years, I've been fortunate enough to just be able to focus on bodybuilding, which is, I think, why I've been able to make such good progress, especially after working with Neil. But yeah, it was a tough job for sure.
So you mentioned you're working with Neil now.
Yeah.
I believe you started with George Farah, or worked with George at some point.
Yeah, I worked with George. Yeah.
I know you worked with Aceto. Can you talk about what the differences were in working with each of those coaches? Obviously, you went to Kuwait as well. I don't know if you worked with the coaches over there during that time, but the differences of each coach and what you took from any of them, if anything.
Well, George was very big on like the foods that I was eating, like rest. He was good with that stuff. But I felt that I wasn't making the progress that I needed to make with him. Again, it could have been me, but I just felt like I wasn't getting the attention that I needed, the detail. When I'm really getting into prep, I need to feel, I'm not the most confident guy. Jose knows this about me. So not that I'm needy or I need somebody to tell me, oh, you look great all the time, because I don't need that. It's not about that. But I need to feel confident in my guidance. And I just, after a while there, when I was competing, I think I was getting ready so basically what happened was I was getting ready for a pro show, and a very respected judge told me I looked like dog shit, like 5 weeks out from the show. And if anybody knows me, I follow my plan 100%.
So how did you feel when Steve said that?
Yeah, it was not good. I was like, oh shit. So
he's the only one that would give it to you straight. In that manner.
always. He's always been, and you got to respect him for that. I love that he cares enough.
Yeah.
To be brutally honest with me, but I know that it's coming from a place that he just wants me to be my best and wants me to succeed. Mm-hmm. So that was what George was really good about. Like I said, he fed me a lot. But again, I just wasn't comfortable with how my body was progressing. And then I worked with him for about a year. Then I went over to Aceto. I was with Aceto for 3.5 years. And those were arguably some of my best showings. I think Orlando Pro 2014, a lot of people love that look. I love that look. But Brazil, which is a shame because there's not many pictures of it, but I think that was a tremendous package that Chris Aceto and I brought. Chris was very, very attentive, which is what I really enjoyed about him, especially so much so towards the last week or two. My father said it best, watching Chris work with me going into Orlando was like watching a artist finish his masterpiece. He was so attentive. Literally, I mean, Jose can attest to this, getting me up every hour and a half, 2 hours. We would pose, he would look at me, analyze, okay, you got to eat this, you got to do this. And it was just, man, the way it came together. Like I said, unfortunately, there's not many pictures, but for Brazil, Chris will tell you this. I got up in the morning and, you know, I'm the entire time I'm telling Chris, okay, what else we got to do? Let's do some, like, how do we push? And he's like, relax. Tomorrow you're going to wake up and you're going to look bananas. Trust me. So I'm freaking out in my head. And that's part of my problem too. I'm a little bit, I'm very hard on myself. So man, he was spot on. I got up the next morning and I freaked out. I was like, holy shit. I can't believe this is how I look. No diuretics. Chris had me drinking little cups of black coffee with my meals. That's what I did. And man, what a package that was. But yeah, Chris was really, really, really good. I would have stayed with Chris. I just felt that he had a lot of big names. And it was 1 year at the Olympia. He had Jose, Ramy, who he was working with. It was like under wraps. Nobody knew about it. Rodin. Man, he had so many. Eduardo. Yeah, it was so many people that I just felt like if I were able to ever to get to that level, I needed to, you know, really have somebody that was going to help me get there. And I felt like Chris was so, you know, and it's natural, right? If I was a betting man, I was going to put my money and my chips where, you know, I felt the best chances were to win that Olympia, which at that time was Sean Rodin, Jose, Ramy, Eduardo. I was going to be, you know, rear in the pack. So maybe that was just something that I took personal, because I don't think Chris really thinks that way. But it was, for me, it was apparent in the way, in the attention. Again, we went from, he stayed with me for about a week and a half going into Orlando, and then we traveled to Brazil together. He stayed with me in Brazil, to maybe I saw him, I don't know, maybe for 10 minutes a day the last few days going into the Olympia, because he was running around doing so much with everyone else.
Yeah. And now, how about after that? When you went to Kuwait, did you work with their coaches, or were you just out there to essentially use the facility and have the
I went out there.
that they provide? Yeah,
I went out there with Victor. So that came together because they had been asking Victor Martinez to come out for a while. Me and Victor are very good friends, and he didn't want to go alone. He was like, I don't know anybody over there. It's halfway around the world. So I jokingly was like, I'll go. Why the hell not? I go train out there, see what they do. And I think about a week later, Batter contacted me and he booked my flight. He was like, all right, you guys are coming. So I went out there and there's I don't know. There was things that I just couldn't get on board with. I'll just put it that way. They were great guys. You know, they were really, really intense in the gym, which I loved. I mean, the atmosphere. What show are we getting ready for? I don't know, but Ramy was there. Nathan Diasha was there. Rolly was there. Victor was there. I mean, there was a bunch of guys, and we were pushing. So it was super intense. It was a lot of fun every day. We were training twice a day, every day. I mean, it was living, for me, it was like living a dream, you know. We're staying in an apartment right next to this $50 million gym with all the greatest amenities you could think of. I mean, literally, I could walk downstairs, and Batter was so gracious. The gym was completely open to whatever we wanted, whatever we, you know, wanted to do. I could book massages twice a day. I could jump in the hot tub, go in the sauna, you know, it's literally catered to be your best bodybuilder. It was amazing. But, you know, again, like some of the things that were happening, I just, I don't know if I could be okay with some of that stuff.
I mean, I guess reading between the lines, were you just more concerned for your health long term?
Yeah. I just I wanted to. You know, it's funny. I go back and forth with stuff because I'm so eager to be one of the best in the world and do whatever necessary it is that I need to do. But the problem with that is sometimes, you know, age kicks in, wisdom kicks in. It's like, wait a second, you know, you start to look around you, and unfortunately there's more people that I have seen, especially more recently, fall ill or even worse to, you know, unfortunately abusing things and not looking after their health. And I've always been a little bit more health conscious than some, especially I went to school to be a nurse. I went to college to be a nurse. So a lot of people don't know that. So, you know, when confronted with some of the things that I wanted, you know, well, that I was being told I needed to do, I was kind of like, man, I don't know. And thank God Victor was there, because anybody that knows me knows I'm a yes person. So, yeah, Victor was kind of like, no, we're not doing that.
So how did you eventually end up with Neil Hill, who you're with now?
Long story short, I was going through a really, really difficult time in my life. I had just kind of got out of a divorce, and during going through the divorce, I put it in my head that I needed to continue to just compete, even though it was probably the worst thing I could have done. But I felt like it was the only thing that I could hold on to at that point in my life. You know, like I had lost my business. I lost my home. I didn't lose them. I just had to, I wanted to disassociate everything that I had with this person, because I was so deeply hurt. So I walked away from the life that I had built, and I felt like I was starting from square one. And in doing all of that, I decided I was going to, well, I was competing and placing horribly, definitely the worst year that I ever had. And the judges actually had come up to me to show me, like, you need to stop. You need to just deal with what you're going through, and you know, then come back next year when you're settled. And I remember reaching out to Neil shortly after one of the shows, and he was like, no, man, you're not in a good place. Like, you should shut it down and get through what you're going through, and you know, maybe we can talk later. That was about a year before Neil and I started working together. And then in removing all of those reminders and memories and everything that I just felt like I needed to step away from, I decided to take that one step further and move away from everything and anything that I ever knew. So I ended up moving down here to South Florida by myself. I have family here, but they're in North Florida, in Ocala and in Orlando. They're about 3-4 hours away. So I moved down here by myself. Flex and I had talked about training several times because 2 years prior, my ex-wife and I were thinking about buying a house down here in South Florida. So we had spoken about it. So I just took the plunge. I moved, and then I hit Flex up. I was like, hey, I moved to South Florida. Let me know when you want to train. He was like, what? You're in Florida now? I said, yeah. I mean, you want to start training? Let me know. So he's like, cool, let's go to the gym tomorrow. Let's train. And then we've just been training ever since. Neil was there, and, you know, we started talking about where I was at in my head and in my life. And I told him, I mean, damn near in tears, I was like, this is like a lifelong dream that I've had. And there's so much that I have not accomplished that I need to accomplish. And I told him, I'll do whatever I need to do. I'll work as hard as you need me to work. It's not about, you know, I'll do whatever. And I just told him, just give me a shot. And thankfully last year it worked out, and I was able to make him proud, and you know, but that's how we started working together.
So Jon, yesterday, Nate and I were talking about you and your career and what's been going on with you. And
yeah,
it's funny, you mentioned earlier, Jose knows that, you know, my mindset, and I brought it up. I said, this thing, as good as Neil Hill is, and I know he has tremendously affected you in a positive manner with his, protocol and preparation and everything.
Yeah.
The single greatest thing that has happened to you is to be day in and day out around a champion like Flex Lewis. Like, his mindset is one way, and that is it. He doesn't allow a second of negativity to creep in to the room when you're there. And that is the greatest thing that could have ever happened to you, for you to have, they say you are what you surround yourself with. If you surround yourself with negative, miserable, depressing shitbag, that's what you're going to be. If you surround yourself with a sky-high champion, anything is possible, then that's what you're going to be.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you needed,
Yeah.
I
think, it's interesting because when I moved here, and I've been surrounded by some great champions. Look at Victor, Juan Morel, these guys have accomplished a lot in the sport. The problem is, I think for me, was I wasn't ready to receive that, if that makes any sense. I was very committed to my marriage, very committed to being a provider, being a good husband, doing all that I could. And it kind of took away from this desire, this dream that I had since I was a child to be one of the best in the world. And I don't regret any of that at all. I mean, I took a lot of pride in being a good husband or being the best husband I could. But I wasn't in the right place to receive that and to see that for what it is, because Victor, I think I could use him pretty well. I remember in 2007 when he was, arguably the greatest look he ever had. I mean, the man was a machine, and it's almost the same thing. It was like there wasn't anything that was getting in his way. There was no negativity. There was no, all right, we're going to start it, and for Victor, this was like huge. Anybody that knows Victor knows if he says he's going to be at the gym, he was always on time. Always on time. Wow. If Victor says he's going to be at the gym at 1, count about 2:30, you're going to start training. It's usually about an hour late. But no, this year he was just on it. And now moving here and spending the last 2 years with Flex, it's a different animal. The dude is he's just so focused on, and it's funny, it's not on just bodybuilding, it's in every aspect of his life, in business, in his family. Like, he has this ability to, we have the gym from 12 to 2. He has his gym closed off for himself from 12 to 2. And it's like 12 to 2, it's all about what we're doing, how we're doing it, how we're approaching it, giving it 100% intensity. And then 2 o'clock comes around, he's like, okay, I got to go pick up Addie, and I got to do this with Addie, and it's all about his family, and it's just incredible to watch. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That mindset really affected me in a positive way, because I started to realize this wasn't just a hobby for me anymore. This wasn't just, something that I enjoyed doing. This became my business. It became something that I took very, very seriously. It wasn't just going in the gym with my boys and throwing around some weight. It was more about accomplishing what we set out to accomplish. And Flex kind of laid that out for me the first year. And or last year when we started training together, he was like, okay, we're going to start, and this is how we're going to approach it. He was like, we just laid it out, and it was exactly the way we had planned it. And it was probably the first prep in my life that I was so just, focused on winning. I've always been the kind of guy that's like, oh, I want to win, but this guy's doing it and this guy's doing it, so maybe I'll get like second or third. Last year was like, no, fuck this. I can beat these guys, and I'm going to beat them.
How about being excited for the next workout? You can't wait to wake up in the morning and see what you look like.
Yeah,
that's when you know shit's going the right way.
Yeah, leg days were always fun. They're still it's funny. We get I text Flex almost every Saturday. I'm like, you ready for tomorrow, bro? It's a lot of fun, man. We get to push each other, and through that, you know, a great friendship has formed. And, you know, it's been a really cool ride.
So you guys have very similar physiques in that you're both short, you both have huge forearms, huge calves. You know, your weaknesses are similar. So
Yeah.
what's training like? Who's stronger? Who pushes who in what
Well,
lift? And where do you see, like, I don't know, that you can improve, or that he's, you know what I'm getting at? Like
yeah. Flex is he smokes me on back exercises. He's got a thick, just very thick muscular back. I think we're pretty much evenly matched up in pretty much everything else. He's really strong on back exercises. I'm really strong on chest exercises. I can press really, really heavy, but he can row like it's nothing.
Yeah.
So, but I think we're pretty much evenly matched on everything else. So shoulder presses and laterals and all that other stuff, we're pretty much the same.
Do you
What we've been really focusing on for me is developing more thickness in my back, and for him is obviously, we were just talking about this yesterday. You know, my chest is really sore from our chest workout on Monday, and I asked him yesterday. I said, "How's your chest?" He said, "I didn't get much out of it." So we're trying to. It's cool because we put our heads together and we try to figure out ranges of motions and you know, sequence of exercises that will help him target that tissue better. And the same thing with me. We go in and, you know, I find ranges. Like, for instance, we found out that when I row, I think my arms are so strong that when I row, my arms end up, this is true for most people, your arms take up most of that exercise. So what I've had to do is like shorten my range of motion and just keep a lot of the tension on my lats and just kind of like pump away. It looks stupid when I'm doing it. And the way that I've been taught with my father is like, you full range of motion, full range of motion, full range of motion. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you have to find what works best for you. And I found that for my back. I think most people will be happy to see that my back improved a bit from last year. But I attribute it to that. I've had to really like let go of what I thought I knew and kind of relearn and figure out what would be better for me.
Yeah. I noticed in a few photos, do you find yourself taking on any Flex Lewis like posing attributes? There was a certain shot, I forget if it was a front double or what it was, but I'm like, I've never seen Jon hit it like that. I'm like, that looks oddly familiar.
Yeah, so I like to, you know, it's funny you caught on to that. I like to pay tribute to the guys that have helped me along the way. I think 2 or 3 years ago, I did the Victor pose on stage during my routine.
Yeah.
You know, the classic.
Yeah.
So I did that, and people were like, "Oh, wow!" Everybody that was there was like, "Wow, that was really cool that you did that." And then last year, I did the flex like this.
Yeah.
And then turned around, and everybody caught on to that too. So, yeah, I've been, you know, we practice posing a lot together, Flex and I, and you know, obviously he has his way of doing things. So yeah, naturally, I take on a little bit of that, and it kind of morphs itself into a hybrid of my posing and his posing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about your dad? I was listening to an interview you the other day where you were mentioning your dad's a bodybuilder, and he was your training partner for many, many years.
My whole life, yeah.
What was is that what got you into it? Was your dad competing way before you ever got into it, and you would watch him at his shows?
So I got to text Jose a picture of my dad at 14 years old. He was hitting a front lat spread, and photos like black and white. It's not even color. But yeah, my father had been bodybuilding for his entire life, and then I could almost remember the exact moment that I fell in love with it. There's 2 moments. So one of them was you know, when you're around something so much, it becomes normal. Like I look at myself in the mirror now and I still see a 170-pound kid. Yeah, not a big deal, whatever. But then somebody else walking down the street might be like, holy fuck, that guy's huge, you know, because I'm accustomed to seeing what's in front of me, whereas somebody else might not be. So I think I was in first or second grade. I don't remember. My dad was really young, and my dad had come to school to pick us up. And like these kids like exploded, like, holy Christ, like it's the Hulk. And I'm like, what? The Hulk? And they run up to my dad, and my dad's like flexing and showing them their arms. And I was like, no, my dad's the Hulk, you know? It's really cool. But I never realized that he was that big of a person because it was normal to me. So that was one time. And then it was really, really close after that because I kind of was intrigued with my dad's big arms and shoulders and his chest. And I remember asking a ton of questions, like, how did you do it? And he would make me do push-ups. And that's when I fell in love. Like he bought like these little dumbbells, and we had them in the living room. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. It was 6 of us. And so he had like a weight set. I'm not kidding you. We had the couch, and then we had the bench. In front of the couch, he would slide it out while everybody's watching TV and just train. So I remember he bought me like these little dumbbells, and he would be training, and I would be like messing around with him. And I was like, man, this is it for me. I fell in love. And then through that bond, that connection that me and my father found through bodybuilding, our bond just became, my dad's my best friend. I talk to him every single day. Sorry about that. You guys see me? Oh, there you go. I talk to him every single day. I mean, there's literally nothing that my father and I don't talk about. But yeah, he was my inspiration. Shit, sorry guys. He was my inspiration from a really young age. Not only just for his, you know, what he was able to do with his body, but the father he was to us, and the things that he sacrificed. My father started competing at a very late age, not very late, but later, because he had us when he was 20 years old, and we became the priority. You know, he was always bodybuilding, he was always lifting, but he couldn't get around to competing because, you know, his life had become about raising his 4 children and taking care of his wife, my mom.
I love it. Pop's a great dude.
I heard you mention in an interview as well that early on you kind of knew you had a shot in the sport, where Bob Gruskin, who was Chris Aceto's mentor, came up to you and your dad and said, you know, you're going to go pro and you're going to do really well. Did you ever work with Bob, or was it just a simple interaction where he happened to be at a show?
Yeah, so, Jesus, sorry. So that's a really cool story. And obviously we're all bodybuilding fans that are watching this. So we all know sometimes we go to a bodybuilding competition and there's strange people there. Okay. So long story short, I'm a teenager at this show, and I had been kicking butt. It was the NABA Nationals. Actually, Fred Smalls was competing as well. And I had won the teen division. I had won the overall. And I had won like 3 shows in a row. And Bob had been at all of them. And at that last one, he comes up to me. He's like, man, you're really something special. Now, mind you, I don't know who Bob Gruskin is from Holy Well. But there's this old guy with glasses on, no hair, you know, just like a comb over of like 4 or 5 strands of hair.
He had a funny voice too, right?
Yeah, he had a funny voice. And he comes up to me and my dad. I'm like hugging my dad, and you know, we just won, we're having a great time. And this strange guy comes out, and he tells my dad, he's like, your son's gonna be great. He's gonna be a great bodybuilder. You just gotta stay at it. And then he asked us about anabolics. He was like, has he done any anabolics? And my dad was like, no, he hasn't wanted to do that. I was about 19 or 20. I don't remember. It was like 19. And then he said, no, you know. So he was like, well, if you're interested, you know, here's my address, here's my number. You know, if you're ever interested, you can come by my house. I can analyze him, and I'll let you know what's best for him to do. So we go back home, and like the whole time home, we're like, who the hell is this guy? Like, what? This is strange. It was a strange experience. So I started asking around, and everybody's like, wait, was his name Bob Gruskin? And I was like, yeah, why? Do you know him? Ah, Jesus. And yeah, so it was Bob Gruskin. And I was like, yeah, that guy knows his stuff. Like, you know, he's worked with Arnold before. And I was like, you worked with Arnold? What? So then we take him up. I call him, and sure enough, he lives about 20 minutes from me. He's down in the Bronx. And I tell my dad, I'm like, oh, I'm not going alone. Like, you got to come with me. So I go, and man, I go into this guy's basement where he had like this whole little posing section with mirrors and lights. But it was like a bodybuilding, Jesus Christ. It was like a bodybuilding, like, museum down there. He had pictures of so many people. He was going through them, and he helped this person and that person. I was like, wow, this is cool. So then he's like, all right, strip down. Let me see what you look like. And it was probably about 3 to 4 weeks after the show. So I put on some size or some weight. And he was like, man, you have such pretty shape. He was like, now, if you just do a little bit of D-ball, a little bit of... So I said, shit. And mind you, I was in the middle of going to school for nursing. So everything you hear about that stuff is like, you're going to die. In that setting, in a school setting, steroids are the worst thing in the world. You're going to die of a heart attack. Stay away from them. So now this guy's telling me, well, you should take a little bit of this, take a little bit of that. And I'm like, there's no way, I'm not doing it. And for anybody that doesn't know, I did not touch any performance enhancing drugs until I was about 25 years old. So it took me years after that. But yeah, so he's telling me the cycle, and me and my dad get in the car. I'm like, Dad, like, I was thinking in my head, like, you take one thing. He had wrote out this list of stuff for me to do. I'm like, I'm not doing this. This is crazy. Anyways, long story short, we kept in touch through the years, and he was always super proud of me. And you know, it was always like, I told you, you're going to be good. You just got to keep pushing, you know? So it was a really, really, he just recently passed, which was a sad day, but it was a really cool experience to have met a man like that not a lot of people know about, but he's done some great things in the sport.
So Jon, one more thing. I don't want to keep you too long.
No, please.
The Tampa Pro happened recently. Did you happen to go to the show? What were your thoughts?
No, I did not go to the show.
Did you get to analyze everyone, the top 3, 4, 5 guys? Were you impressed? Where do you think I don't know, where do you think Hunter's gonna go?
I think Hunter's an incredible athlete. I think he's made some incredible improvements. I wasn't particularly impressed with his condition. I thought he would be a lot better. I know he probably missed the mark a little bit, and that's normal. I can't, you know, I've missed the mark more times than I've hit it, so I can't, Jesus. I can't, you know, judge him on that. But just leading into the show, I felt like he looked so impressive, and then he kind of fell short a little bit on stage. And that also has a little bit to do with, you know, we all look good standing alone, you know. So when you're compared to other athletes, you know, your weaknesses start to show. I'm not sure who placed second. Who was it?
Ian. And I think I saw the other day. It looks like Ian may be doing the New York Pro as well. Just keep on going.
Yeah, Ian. I was really disappointed with the way he came out in prejudging, just because I know Ian he's been really like trying to put it together. And you know, it's funny. I tell people this story, and they're like, "What?" I felt bad beating him last year at Toronto. But it was more of a personal thing for me. I went and I won Puerto Rico, and I won it, I think, pretty handily. There was only 4 competitors, nobody that was like a standout star or whatever. So I went there and I didn't feel like I had fulfilled anything in me, you know? So then I saw the Toronto lineup and I said, okay, Ian is a guy that I can feel good about beating, as bad as that sounds. But, you know, for me, it was more like I needed to prove to myself I can beat top level guys. And I think Ian can be, and I think he is. So yeah, because of that, I was a little bit disappointed. I was hoping that he was able to put it together. Yeah, I think either way, it was a good showing for both of them. I just think Ian could have been a lot better when he came out of prejudging and made a little bit more of an impression. Now that kid Dwayne, who actually lives 5 minutes from me, he plays third. Incredible showing for him. He's a 212 competitor that he weighed like 218 or something like that. Great conditioning. I just think that in a deeper lineup, he's going to have more trouble than what he had there. There wasn't really many people that could challenge him.
How does he look in person? And do you think, how do you feel about the people that say he should have beaten Ian?
I don't think he should have beaten Ian. So, like, for me, bodybuilding, it's frustrating because, you know, I fall under this category, and it's going to sound like I'm being biased, but I'm not. Bodybuilding should be judged on every aspect of what the sport should be, right? It should be size, conditioning, symmetry, proportion. And none of them should mean more than the other, right? It should all equally play out on the score sheets. So if we're looking at it just purely on condition, yeah, he was way better than Ian and Hunter. I mean, the kid was hard. But I don't necessarily think that deserves beating a guy who's more complete and wasn't so terrible. So, I mean, again, if you look at all the poses, how many poses do you think he wins compared to Ian on muscularity? Not maybe 2 or 3, you know, so it's evenly matched there. Proportion, I think Ian's better. He's a little bit, you know, more complete. Yeah. I think Dwayne really needs to bring up his legs, really needs to bring up, you know, his hamstrings particularly. And then, man, that kid's going to be dangerous. But he looks freaky walking around. He's got this massive clavicle area, huge shoulders. But again, if you see him in person, his legs are very, very downsized compared to that big upper body.
How tall is he? Is he a little taller than you or much taller?
He's about 2 inches taller than me, yeah. And like I said, he was about 218 on stage. Last year when he competed with me at the New York Pro. I convinced him to do the New York Pro last year at the 212. He competed like a week before and he was going to shut it down. I'm like, why? Go to the New York Pro. You can win it. He ended up like eating and missing his mark or whatever because he didn't think he was going to compete. But I told him, I mean, what did you weigh 2 weeks ago? He was like, I don't know, like 220. I was like, you look way better at 220 than you did at 210 or whatever it was that you competed. He was like, really? I was like, yeah, you should think about competing in the Open. And he did it this year.
Much better look for him. Like a different person. Almost
it's like this whole area, which is more impressive than anything else on him. His back he's just very broad. When he came down, I think it was like 215 when I saw him right before the show that he did. It was like he just like kind of deflated. Yeah. And he didn't look as impressive. In the 220s, like I said, he just blown out and he looks really impressive.
That front lat spread when he hits it, his shoulders are crazy.
Yeah.
I can see that all disappearing. And he can't afford to have flat legs when you don't have big legs.
Yeah. Yep.
So he definitely made the right choice in moving up.
Yeah. Yep.
What else were you impressed with anyone else in that lineup? There was a guy that Nate has a real affinity for. He was like 4'2". He won the overall in classic physique. Puerto Rican guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was I thought you were going to say Dietrich, Jose.
Well, that's your other favorite.
Dietrich jokes. Yeah.
That was the little dude that ended up winning. That was in the amateur show, though, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude was incredible, man.
Nate keeps pictures of him, and then that guy Dietrich in the 212 that has 3 legs. He came in second. Nate loves him.
That's Flex's boy.
Is it? Flex likes taking pictures with him? Oh, I gotta call Flex and find out what's going on here.
Ask Flex to.
Flex won't stand next to him, take a picture.
No.
I feel bad
But
for you.
they met him.
People
They met him at his show in Tennessee. That's how they know him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Flex has got some funny stories. You got to call him. Flex
was going to guest pose at his own show. Then he saw that guy and backed out. And he's like, it has nothing to do with the muscle, mate. I ain't going to on stage next to him. We got to get.
Do you see his trunks?
Yeah, they're not even trunks. They're like a fucking hammock.
What is that?
It's a suitcase. It's a sleeping bag.
Our friend Doug. You know Doug Green?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so Doug's like, there's no way that's real, bro. He stuffs that.
I don't think it is either. It can't be. I don't want to believe it is.
Hey, if it is, man, God bless him.
He's in the wrong sport.
Yes, absolutely.
He needs to be making money.
Yeah, this is not the sport. I mean, it's impressive. He's got a great physique, but fuck, he could be making a whole lot more money.
Yeah, but it throws off his symmetry. You're like,
it does.
What is going on here? I can't quite put my finger on it. But it's just his legs look small or something. What is it?
Oh God, I know.
I swear, every week this guy makes a guest appearance on the podcast. Somehow it comes up. Nate's like obsessed with the guy.
Yeah, well, hey, to each their own, Nate. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So, John, give us some sending off final thoughts. You're 3.5 weeks out. You're excited to do that. If you say for some odd reason you don't win the New York Pro, is there another show between then and the Olympia?
The only other, so there's two left on the schedule. I'm assuming that one of them will be canceled. That's the one in California. California's completely shut down as well. And then there's Chicago. And with the recent things that happened in Chicago, I'm not sure if that's going to go off either. So it's really hard. I mean, did you guys see what happened in Chicago a few days ago? All the riots and shootings, and it's so who knows what's going to happen there. But there's two shows left.
Chicago.
What was that?
It's like any other weekend in Chicago. It's craziness.
Yeah. So there's two shows left, and I put a lot of pressure on myself. Obviously, like I said, it's the New York Pro, so I really want to walk away with this win. I think it would be huge. Again, just putting myself in front of guys like Patrick Moore, who placed, I think he placed 10th, and I was 11th at the Olympia. So, no, he was 9th. He was 9th. So I'd like to get in front of guys like that, so that way I can set myself up for the Olympia where I can get better looks. So that's kind of my focus right now. Max Charles as well. I mean, his last showing was crazy. He looked really, I think he got screwed his last outing. But yeah, guys, I'm really excited. Thank you guys for the opportunity to get on here and bullshit with you guys. It was a lot of fun. I'm just looking to have make the best of this year. Hopefully, I can get this qualification and get into the Olympia, even though I don't even know how that's going to happen. Vegas is completely shut down too. It's a weird time that we're living in.
It is.
It's crazy.
I think.
How are things with you, Jose? Are things working, or what's going on?
Very little. Things are still tough up here.
It's like New York, right?
Yeah, they're probably going to make things a little worse coming up. It doesn't look like anything's going to get better soon. If not, it'll get worse before it gets better. So we're just trugging along. Me and Nate have been training, getting some good workouts in, getting stronger again, and feeling better. But we're looking forward to seeing you. I want to see you win this thing. Hopefully everything happens, and then the Olympia happens, and we can have some bit of normalcy. Did you get your coupon code yet for the pay-per-view?
No.
Is it De La Rosa 10 for $10 off the viewing?
I didn't even know they were doing that. No, I didn't get anything yet.
Yeah, look into it. You got to get your coupon code. Get it out there. We'll help promote it for you so you can get.
Oh, thank you.
You get a little kickback from the pay-per-view.
That's for the New York Pro?
Yeah. Talk to Steve. He's gonna know.
Yeah, I'll call Steve.
He's gonna tell you to go screw yourself, but you'll get that coupon code. Get it out there.
Oh, Steve. Hey, every time I get a call from Steve, I get so fucking nervous. I'm like, oh shit.
Oh, you're going like, what the fuck did I do now?
I'm like, oh god.
I have to always think, did I say something stupid again? And then it ends up being fine. He's like, hey, how you doing? All right, great.
Yeah.
Oh, thank Christ.
Yeah.
Because there have been many times I've said something stupid, and he's like, "The fuck's wrong with you?"
Yeah.
I don't know. Weinberger come up on your phone yet? Fuck.
Yeah. Or Jim Mannion. Oof. Yeah. It's even worse.
I don't do anything to piss off Jim. You never know with Steve.
Oh yeah, I know.
He'd say, "Have a nice day." He'd be, "Fuck you." Have a nice day. Who the fuck do you think you are?
Hey, so elaborating on that story from earlier, this is a great story. So we guest posed. It was about 5 weeks out of the New York Pro, and
were you and Dietrich?
No, no. It was what we were talking about earlier with Farah and all that.
Oh, okay.
So this is actually a really cool story. So we guest posed. And do you remember the Tribeca Performing Arts Center where there was, when you come off stage, there's that long hallway?
Yeah.
Right? To go into the backstage area?
I competed there 7 years in a row.
I used to love that. I used to love it.
Universe.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep, then, shit.
Then I moved to Jersey.
Every one of my New York pros was there 5 years in a row.
Wow. I did 4 there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'll make this quick. So walking down the hall, it was me, Evan, Juan, Marco. I forget who else. There was a few people that guest posed. All the New York guys. We were all there, just jumped on stage.
Kai.
Yeah. So I'm walking, and I was the first guy off stage, so I was the first guy walking down the hall, right? Steve was the last guy. So Steve is yelling like, "That's right, keep walking, you fat fuck." And I'm like, oh man, somebody's gonna get reamed right now. He keeps going, he keeps saying shit. I'm like, you better not show up at my show like this. I'll fucking place you last. I swear to God, don't fucking embarrass me.
Talking to you.
I get in the room and I feel the hand go on my shoulder. He turns me around. He's like, you better get your ass in shape. You better not fucking show up like this. I was like, oh shit, he was talking to me. The coolest thing about this whole story is I call Victor. It's my pro debut. He's fucking crying my eyes out. I'm like, bro, I can't do this show. I don't want to embarrass myself. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, Steve told me I look like shit, man. I can't do it. I'm not gonna do it. He's like, no, John, you're gonna do it. Now Victor was locked up at this time. So I go to see him. He writes out a plan for me. I pose for him and everything. He got me ready in 4 weeks. He got me ready for my first New York Pro outing. And I placed third behind Rami winning the show, Juan second.
Wow. And Victor actually got out and was able to take you to the show, right?
Right before, like 3 days before he got out.
Yeah, I remember seeing him. He was like 200 pounds. Didn't even look like him.
I know. But that's a really cool story. Victor, from jail, I would go see him. He would take a look at me, assess what was going on, work out whatever I needed to do, and then do it the next week, and then the next weekend, placed third at my first New York Pro, which was amazing.
That's great. We got to get Victor to start doing some preps for people. I've been telling Victor this for a long time. Victor is very good at that, like helping people get ready. He's extremely intuitive when it comes to it. He just knows. I guess he's done so much. Who the fuck knows? I don't know. He's done it for so long, but he's just so good at it, And I tell you, I killed myself getting ready for that show. But
Steve was also very happy. He was like, man, whatever you did, good job.
That is a great story.
Yeah.
Steve ain't afraid to tell like it is, that's for sure.
And that's what, you know what? That's what I love about him. A lot of people, I know people. Do you remember Miguel? Fuck, I forget his last name. He placed second to Sean Roden at the North Americans. He was a pro. Yeah. He was just thickly muscled, crazy conditioning. He placed second behind Sean Roden that year because he had a bad shot. And it was very, very noticeable. It was like a point. So the next year he's getting ready for the show, and he comes over to see Steve, and I was there, and Steve was like, yo, you gotta like fix, like you gotta take care of that. You can't. And I think at that point it was just scar tissue. Anyways, long story short, Miguel never competed again. He couldn't take what Steve was dishing out. He never walked away, moved to Pennsylvania, disappeared. And when I tell you, do you remember Desmond Miller?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Desmond Miller type quads. That's what Miguel had. Fucking freakiest quads I've ever seen in person.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's too bad. Yeah, bodybuilding is not for the faint of heart. You're gonna have thick skin and thin skin.
Yeah. Yeah. I normally only have thin skin in one area of my body.
Yeah, thick skin.
Yeah.
Here you are again talking about your boy Bo Lewis. Dietrich.
Oh gosh.
On that note, let you go, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys.
You know, hopefully you win. Well, when you win, we'll have you back on. We can talk about the experience, more about Flex Lewis, and talk to your boy. Tell him he's got to come on and talk to me. He's avoiding me. Yeah, mate. Give me a call next week. Call him. He's fucking dusting me.
I'll talk to him today.
Right down there and kick him in the ass. Tell him, dude. You're gonna talk very little about bodybuilding. We're not interested to see, you know, how much you bench or how much bigger you get. I want to talk about fucking pigeons. Tell him I want to talk about pigeons.
He's been very slowly but surely. I see him kind of closing off to the world.
He does it. It's gonna get worse.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, more and more we're talking about his prep and the things we need to, you know, do and how we're going to approach it. So I can see him already. Like, I know he's avoided a few interviews already.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, you know, he of course, this is a lot of pressure on him. You know, he's going up against Phil Heath, Brandon Curry, and he's moving up a weight class. He still has unfinished business with this guy, Hadi Chopin. Who, you know, people were going crazy about that he should have won in Japan or whatever. And, you know, so he has a lot of stuff that he's just kind of, I can see him already just like tuning everything out and just getting in his zone. And that's it, you know.
Well, I get it. I get it.
But I'll make sure he gets on here with you.
Yeah. All right.
All right, guys.
Appreciate it. Great seeing you again.
Thanks,
Great
Jon.
seeing you too. Love you, hoes.
Love you too, brother.
Take it easy, mate.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.